Alright lads, we need to make some cider, eh? Let's do this. Here's what you're going to need. An empty bottle. Any old brand of apple juice you can get a hold of. Just make sure it's got no preservatives in it. Should be good. Yeast. Balloons. A funnel. Teaspoon. Texter. Alright, so what we need to do, fill up your empty bottle, but we only want to fill it to about there. It's roughly about a cup out of the top of one of these bottles. If you're doing this in bulk, you can buy 5 bottles of juice, take a cup out of each bottle, and fill up your 6th bottle, and you'll get 6 brews at once. About like that. Don't worry too much about it, it's not an exact science. And grab some yeast. It's just regular bread yeast. You can use brewer's yeast or champagne yeast if you feel like it, but this works too. Now you don't need much of this. About 1/8 to 1/4 of a teaspoon. You're talking about that. I don't know if you can see that. Not much. That'll do. Put your lid back on. Give it a shake. Now I find you'll get little bits of yeast stuck around the top. If you have a look, sometimes they're stuck right around the rim. You just let that sit for, a minute or so, and then give it another shake. All those little bits will come off and they'll all end up in the juice. It's not really an issue, except that you don't want yeast stuck at the top, because you're going to be pouring this off later. So normally what I would do is, however many brews I want to put on, if I'm doing 6, I'll shake the yeast one at a time. I'll put the yeast in, shake them one at a time. By the time I finish shaking the 6th bottle, go back to the first one, shake them all again, right? And that way, any bits of yeast that are stuck on the walls here will come off, and you'll be good to go. Now, when yeast grows in your apple juice, it creates carbon dioxide, which off-gasses in the bottle. So it'll pressurize this bottle, so we can't leave the lid on. We'll end up with an exploded bottle. And these apple juice bottles aren't designed to hold pressure. So, we still don't want any air getting in there to contaminate it, or any little bugs and stuff getting in there. So what we do, make sure all the yeast is off the bottle. Grab one of these balloons here, stretch it over the top, sealed. Now, when the apple juice starts to ferment, this balloon will blow up. Now, it doesn't always blow up, which is weird, and I don't know why, but it still works. Sometimes you get a really big balloon, sometimes it'll blow up just a little bit. It's not a big deal, it still works. Alright? So, last thing we need to do, write the date on it so you know when you put it on. So today's date is the 23rd of February. Done. Now, you let that sit for 5 days. At 5 days, pretty much all of the sugar in here has been converted into alcohol, and on average that will be at about 9% alcohol. Too strong to drink. So what do? You mix it. Real simple, and this is where it's up to your preference of taste. Okay, if you like a dry cider, then you just mix it with water, 50-50. That'll bring it down to 4.5%. If you like your cider a little bit stronger, do it 2/3 to 1/3. If you like it a little bit weaker, do it the other way around. 1/3 mix, 2/3 water. And then you can go all the way up to, if you like a nice sweet cider, dilute it with more apple juice. It's fine, right? Me personally, I don't like my cider too sweet. I like to put in just a little bit of apple juice. So probably, if you're talking about, you put in your 50% cider mix, I'll put in, for the last half, I'll put in 1/3 of apple juice and the other 2/3 of water, right? Now at this point, the yeast is still growing. In order to kill that yeast, you've got to put it in the fridge. That's all you need to do to cool it down. And it won't be carbonated at this point. So what you do, grab a soda stream bottle, pump some carbon dioxide in there. She's bubbled up. Now, one thing I should mention, when this is finished, all the yeast will have consumed all the sugar, and they'll have a sediment at the bottom of the bottle. Okay? So you don't really want that. It tastes nasty. So what you do, you funnel in your empty bottle that you're going to store it in, and you've got to pour all of the water, all of the cider off the top in one pour, and as you get to the bottom, the cloudy bit at the bottom, stop. You don't want to be doing 2 pours because you'll slosh that sediment around and you'll ruin the rest of the cider. Alright? So do it in 1 pour. Remember, it's double strength. You can drink it if you want to, at your own risk. And that's about it. If you want to go fancy and you don't want to use SodaStream, you can get a brewing keg carbon dioxide kit with a little attachment that goes on a Coke bottle or a PET bottle, and do it that way. It's probably cheaper on your carbon dioxide. But yeah, that's it. You end up with cider. If you just like a dry cider, you can spend $2 on an apple juice and get 4 litres of cider. It's pretty cheap. And happy brewing.